We have probably the best matchup here in Week 15 as the hot Dallas Cowboys fly up to the cold north of the Buffalo Bills, who are probably also one of the hottest teams in the league right now. Both teams have been playing essentially playoff games over the past couple of weeks and have not been playing better at any point, honestly, in my opinion, than over the past couple of years. Bills seem to be playing and seem to be the team similar to what they were from their AFC Championship run in 2020, 2021 as well. Actually, not 2021, 2020, I mean. And at the same time, the Cowboys, Ryan, I'll say it right now, this channel has been very critical of Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy, but huge props to them and the offense that they've had developed this season so far. The Dak Prescott's playing the best that I've seen them play in the longest of times. Mike McCarthy, there's still a lot of football left to go. But that being said, though, what this offense has become under his tenure, essentially calling plays, not essentially, he is calling the plays, has been an offensive explosion that we didn't see under Kellen Moore. So props to him, to be completely honest. Yeah. And then on the flip side, the Bills, kind of want to get your thoughts, especially too, since you're the Patriots fan, you've been seeing them play a lot. They have grinded out some wins. And they have essentially, outside of maybe the Jets game, you could even go back then to the Broncos game now, actually the Bengals game even before that. But it has essentially been playoff matchup every single week from them going all the way back to week 9. This is that heart of the season that we were concerned with for the Bills and like making their playoff run. And lately they have been answering the bell. Should have beat the Eagles. Not should have. That might not be the best way to say it, but epic back and forth game. They just didn't get the ball last, essentially, against the Eagles. Beat the Chiefs, beat the rival of the Chiefs. They got the Cowboys here, and then the schedule does ease up a little bit, but they do control their destiny when it comes to not only making the playoffs, but also winning the division as well. So it's going to be very interesting. I think. Actually, I take that back. Dolphins might have too many games up. It depends on how the Dolphins do moving forward. But I've been talking a lot here for the first couple of minutes. What are your overall thoughts on both of these teams, and just what are your expectations for each team? What are your keys to victory for each team?
So one of the things that I think is most interesting about this matchup is one of these teams plays like a outdoor cold weather football team, and the other one plays like an indoor warm weather football team. And it is not who you think it is. The Buffalo Bills, to me, they play the game with a lot of finesse. They have had a better running game this year specifically, but it's still not in like an elite level. And this offensive line still, I just think is still not the greatest for the Buffalo Bills. Whereas the Dallas Cowboys, they're top 10 in the league in rushing yards per game. And they play a very physical brand of football on the defensive side of the ball. Part of the reason why I think the Bills don't do that on the defensive side of the ball, they've had a load of injuries. I think Micah Hyde got hurt against the Chiefs. Matt Milano has been out for a very long time. Now the Von Miller situation has arose, and he is questionable, I think, week to week. I know he played against the Chiefs, but even when he has been in, he's looked like a 34-year-old version of himself. And it's just interesting to me. And the way the Cowboys have been winning these last few games, they put up 49 on the Giants, 33 on the Panthers, 45 on the Commanders, 41 on the Seahawks, and then 33 against the Eagles in their last few matchups. Their last loss was to the Eagles, where they literally had 3 touchdowns miss by like a total of 3 feet. Like that. That game was that close where they put up 23, and then even the week before that they put up 43 on the Rams. And so this Cowboys offense has just been super explosive, but they are approaching the game in a style where they're very physical. This offensive line is one of the best in the league. They do a really good job of getting the ball into playmakers' hands in space and having blockers there and present. CD Lamb is a threat at all 3 levels of the field. And they even get Dak Prescott involved in the running game now and then as well. So this Cowboys offense is really good, and this defense, I think, is the perfect complement to what they do. And I think they're going to be a handful for the Bills. If the Bills are going to want to win this game, I think they're really going to have to come in and put up a lot of points. I think this is, if they're going to win, it's going to have to be like a 42-38 type of matchup where Josh Allen runs for 2 touchdowns, throws for 4, and has over 500 all-purpose yards for me. So,
yeah, I will say you came around a little bit to me because saying that the Cowboys are a cold weather team. Defensively, I can get behind that now based off your argument, just because they are super physical. They get after the quarterback. They have a great defensive front. And linebacker, actually, just the whole defense is just top notch. Yeah. Offensively, though, this is as much of a West Coast dome team, I feel.
It's West. It is like a West Coast spread offense, but they're top 10 in the league in rushing yards per game. Just because they don't have a lot of rushing touchdowns, I feel like a lot of people put this rushing offense in a lower category than I think where it really is, because everyone has Tony Pollard on their fantasy team because they thought he would be a stud, and he's actually rushed for a lot of yards, but just not a lot. He only has like, I think, 3 rushing touchdowns on the season.
I can look it up for you right here. He had 796 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. He does have 49 catches for 285 yards, no receiving touchdowns. That might be the biggest thing.
But they do a good job bringing CeeDee Lamb in on like sweeps and screens, and then they also get Tony Pollard in space out on screens and things. But they're using the physicality of this offensive line as to me as kind of the leading factor in a lot of these plays. And then they do take their fair share of shots down the field, but a lot of what they're doing is broken tackles and things like that.
Yeah. So I think the thing for me is, when I look at this matchup, is almost how similar actually these two teams are, outside of, I would say, the edge due to injuries. When it comes to secondary, I give it to the Cowboys. But if you go down this list for these two teams, I actually think they are very similar. Even if you go look at the rushing yards right now, Tony Pollard at 796, Rico Dowdle, Dowdle, I think it's Dowdle, is at 307. You go look at the Buffalo Bills with James Cook has come on strong. James Cook is leading the way at 789. Latavius Murray, the second running back when it comes to overall yards, is at 289. Very similar. Josh Allen is at 374 rushing yards. Dak Prescott's at 185. It's not really Dak's game. Josh Allen is much more the runner. But even then, too, on the receiving yard side, CeeDee Lamb is their clear number one at 1253. Then you go Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, all pretty similar. Only Ferguson has 570, Cooks 534, Gallup 405. Then you have a bunch of running backs as well with catches. And you look at the Bills as well. Stephon Diggs 993, Gabe Davis 595. You had your clear number 2 there. Then you have your now receiving tight end and Dalton Kincaid at 495. Khalil Shakur now is also picked up as well, is having a good second half of the season. Both teams, I would say the Cowboys' offensive line is better, but the Bills is much more improved, how we've seen, and the improvement overall in the overall Bills rushing game, more standard rushing game. James Cook had a great game against the Kansas City Chiefs this past week. Defense, they're decimated with injuries of key players in the secondary, and even Matt Milano, as you said as well. He has been out since,
I think it's like week 3, 4,
week 6.
Oh, 6. Okay.
And they're still finding ways, to get after the quarterback. They're one of the top leaders in sacks. It's very unique how both of these teams are almost identical when it comes to the overall style of play. And it's going to be up in Buffalo, and that's where I think Buffalo has a little bit of an advantage, is just because they're used to playing outdoors at home in December. Cowboys, I haven't been to AT&T Stadium, but I've heard that it is a lovely stadium, and you can get very comfortable in there, and the weather is perfect all the time. So it's going to be very interesting how this dynamic Cowboys offense, arguably one of the best in the league, not arguably one of the best in the league, goes up to Buffalo and how they perform outdoors, and then how this defense also performs outdoors against I would say a much more well-rounded Buffalo Bills offense. So it's going to be this is there's a bunch of this is a week of great games. This to me is probably the game of the week with everything on the line. Dallas wants to maintain their NFC East edge, but then the Bills also want to maintain their relevance in the playoff hunt. So it's going to be phenomenal. But let's get into predictions, though, now. I thought that was a great back and forth. Before I send it over to Ryan, if you have not already, like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new content. Ryan and I, we have one final goal, and that is to get to 2,333 subscribers by New Year's Day. Probably wondering why such a weird number. If we hit that number, we would have grown our channel by 2,000 subscribers within this calendar year. Started at 333, trying to get to 2333. Can't believe that we're even at over 2,000. So thanks to everybody that has subscribed. So if you haven't already, help us reach our goal. Join our channel, chat with us. We love interacting with you guys. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Ryan, who do you have winning this game and why?
I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. If I didn't make that obvious before, I just don't think the Bills are very good. I know numbers wise they're very similar, but this Cowboys offense is different to me. They're extremely physical, and I know that they do run more of like a spread system, but they are probably one of the top offenses in the league right now. And the Bills, I still think they made some good plays against Kansas City. I think that game was tremendously close. I just don't see them getting this one done here. I think the Cowboys come in and get I'll say a close win. I'll say 38-31. Cowboys get it done by a touchdown.
Yeah, I definitely could see this being high scoring. I mean, I think the Cowboys, the lowest they have scored this year was 10 against the 49ers, which is respectable, 16 against the Cardinals. That was in week 3. That was also the week of Trayvon Diggs tearing his ACL. And then they haven't scored less than 20 since then, and that was against an interesting game against the Chargers right before their bye. So since they've been back from their bye, 23 points against the Eagles. But as we've talked about, that they could have honestly had 45 in that game if literally there were just a couple inches. But as we've also said before, if we had a couple extra inches in different ways, who knows where our lives would be right now. But I am actually going to disagree. I am going to go with the Buffalo Bills here. I think they had the hot hand. I'm looking back just at the Bills calendar, as I've been saying, and they started off slow and definitely had their inconsistencies, but every week has been a dogfight. They have been in this playoff mentality as well, grinding it out. And even then, too, what I saw against them, against the Philadelphia Eagles before their bye, and what I saw them last week coming out of their bye, I think they've started to ride the ship a little bit. I think the balance of running the ball, James Cook has come on, has been a huge, huge help, I think, to this overall performance of the team, the overall balance of the team. Khalil Shakur coming on has been a huge addition. Dalton Kincaid has also been a huge addition as well. Again, Dawson Knox back this week. They should be getting Dawson Knox back this week. Also, too, looks like Kyer Elam is going to be coming back this week as well. So need to monitor those two stories. But I think that's just good additions and just good help overall, to adding depth to the both offensive and defensive side of the ball. And at the same time, the Cowboys, nothing against the Cowboys. I think it's more how the Bills have been playing as well. And they'll be at home up in Buffalo. It's going to be an absolutely crazy environment with Bills Mafia. I'm going to go with Buffalo in this one and a close one as well, 34-30.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a little surprised. I thought we would be agreeing on this one.
I think I'm 8 games back on you with just a couple weeks left. So I need to try and find some opportunities here to maybe.
I really just think Dallas is the better team. It's going to be a really interesting game. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Help Tyler and I reach that goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Dallas Cowboys? Will it be the Buffalo Bills? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.